So I want to thank everyone for coming. Oak Ridges is a place where people come together as a community. I want to acknowledge my family first. These guys are my inspiration. When I stop sometimes and I look at Oak Ridges when I grew up and I try to look through my lens, it's completely different than it looks now. But then with my daughter, I mean, she's 12. She's growing up in Oak Ridges, and she's got experiences that, do you remember when that looked like? Because it's changed already with her. And then our son Jesse, he's just 3 years old, and he's going to be seeing Oak Ridges from another set of lens. And a quick little story. I went to Oak Ridges Public School, which was on Yonge Street at the time. Now it's Académie de la Marine. And I had this wonderful teacher in grade 1, and her name was Mrs. Wilton. I was asked to go to the schools, as I normally do during Literacy Week, and speak to the kids and read a book. So I took in my favorite book, and I read to the class, and it was a really special day for me because that was Mrs. Wilton's class. So now Jesse's going into junior kindergarten next year, and we were talking at the school because registration's coming up, and lo and behold, there's Mrs. Wilton. So we got talking to the principal. She said, you know, it's pretty likely we can have Jesse in Mrs. Wilton's class. And for community, that's important, right? This is my family. Thank you very much. I love you guys very much. So for those of you that know about cars, you know, you call a car a sleeper. You take Grandma's old Chevelle that looks, you know, just normal. But you take out the engine, you put a big, huge power plant in, and you pull up beside some guy and it looks like a souped-up race car, and you go, yeah, let's go. And he goes, whatever, Grandma's car, you'll blow away. Well, this restaurant is a sleeper. Over the years, there's been all kinds of different ownership in here. And people get a mental image of what it looks like inside, just because of where the building is and the outside exterior. Well, you should tell your friends, you know what? There's a lot of places in Oak Ridges just like this cafe, that we have a mental image of what it must be like inside, and we don't go in. And we go shopping somewhere else. Well, we need to tell our residents, shop in Oak Ridges. The owners here, they live just down the street. They're your neighbors. So if you're buying a coffee or breakfast, why go to South, I call it South Oak Ridges. It's Richmond Hill. Why go to South Oak Ridges if you can stay right here in the community and buy something? You're only helping one of your neighbors. In the town of Richmond Hill, we've been going through our budget lately. I spent last weekend at the Bond Lake Arena, hoping that people would come out and tell me what they thought about the budget. One gentleman said, don't raise taxes. In fact, I'd like to see a reduction. So I took him over to a board we had that showed how the taxes break down. And I said, let's pretend you pay $5,000 in taxes on your home. We take 26%. The region takes 50%. The school board through the province takes 24%. So on a $5,000 bill, we get about $1,200. And then we provide fire services, we provide libraries, we do parks, community centers, we plow the roads, we fix water mains when they break. We do a myriad of things. I said, which one of those things do you want to start taking off the list? We kind of looked at me, well, I think these are all important. Well, what do? He was reading a lot of the regional papers, and he just assumed that because Toronto's in such bad shape, well, we must be too. The town of Richmond Hill is debt-free. You pay taxes, you don't pay for debt reduction, you're paying for services delivered. We have reserves in the bank. But every time we do our budget, we're also budgeting to put more money into the reserves. And I think most people in their family budget, you try to do that. You know what, that roof's getting pretty old. 5 years, we gotta replace it. If every year we put a little bit of money into that kitty, when the roof comes, we can do it. On Richmond Hill, whenever we have to replace something, we pay cash. So that we get the best possible deal that we can get. When we go and put a tender out, the business community, shall we say, sees us coming. It's not just Richmond Hill, it's Aurora, it's Newmarket, it's the region of York, the province of Ontario, it's government. So sometimes, yeah, we do pay more than we should for something, but it's through an open and transparent policy where we actually go out for tender. We tendered for a new community center, and it's not done yet. We're behind schedule, but we're still within budget. So for me, you know what? I can wait a bit longer knowing that we're not spending any more money. Because years from now, I don't think my kids are going to remember that it took an extra month or 2 months. The only two things I said during the whole project that we couldn't control was a labor disruption or a material delay. And that's what happened with the delay. But I'm told we're weeks from having an occupancy permit. Once we get that occupancy permit, I am going to make a huge amount of noise. Everyone is going to know we've got the occupancy permit. This is our grand opening date, because I want you all there. Because it's your community center. It gets paid for through development charges. So if you have a new house in Richmond Hill in, let's say, the last 10 years, you probably paid for it through your home purchase, but not through your property taxes. So it's interesting, as people ask more and more questions, and they get to know more and more about how things are funded and how we actually pay for things, they can then tell their neighbors that, oh, yeah, it wasn't the property tax that paid for the new community center. It was through development charges. I want to thank you all for coming. This is something I look forward to every year. I hear things that maybe you wouldn't have picked up the phone to tell me, but it's important. Again, thank you so much for coming. There's still lots of food and beverages, so don't think for a second you have to leave. Thank you.